Good morning, YouTube. This here is Lockley, and today I'm going to show you how to use an industrial snake that you can rent at your local hardware store to clean out a sewer line. Now, you could go and hire yourself an expensive plumber, and you could get it done. But if you don't have that kind of cash around, well, maybe you have enough to rent the equipment, and maybe this will help you do it yourself. Well, we made it back from the hardware store. They didn't have the large one that we really need, so we ended up getting a small one. Charge is only 20 bucks, which is a lot cheaper than you're gonna get if you hire a plumber. There she is. Somewhere on your property, there's gonna be a clean out. It could be behind your house. It could be next to your house, it could be under your house. It's hard to say really, but what you're looking for is something like this. It's going to be screwed into a pipe in the ground, sticking out like that. Go get yourself a pair of channel locks, thread it out of there, and hopefully you don't have a backup of raw sewage coming right at you. If you do, stand aside, let it settle down and clear out, and it's time to get to work. The tool that you've rented is electrical powered. So you're gonna have to find yourself an extension cord that'll reach to wherever your workspace is, wherever the clean out you found is, and you're gonna have to plug in your machinery. Once you have your machinery plugged in, you gotta check out your basic layout, as it were. There's gonna be a little foot pedal that looks something like this, and by stepping on that, what it does is it spins this drum here, spinning this blade down inside your pipe. There's various attachments for this depending on the size of pipe you have, the kind of obstruction that may be in your pipe, and you're gonna have to use some of your own judgment to figure out which one of those to stick on there. If you're not sure exactly what's blocking your pipe, my suggestion would be to start out with the smallest bit. To change the bits, the head of your device here has a screw in it. You can unscrew that and change your different bits out. In my particular situation, I happen to know what's causing my clog. It's a bunch of tree roots located downline between my house and the sewer main. Now, the proper way to fix that would be to dig it up, get all the tree roots out of there, replace the pipe, and move on. Unfortunately, in my situation here, we've got a bit of an issue. There's a shed sitting directly over the sewer line that goes out from my house. So at some point in the future, I will tear that shed down, move it, dig up the pipe, and fix the problem the proper way. Until then, about once a year, gotta rent one of these guys, run it on down, fix the problem. You're gonna want to get yourself a good pair of gloves, probably nothing too sentimental that you might be attached to, because you're probably gonna end up having to throw them away or wash them out really good. Going to be a lot of nastiness going on down here. First thing we got to do is go ahead and pull out your snake from the drum. Get your little tool, find your little hole. You're going to go ahead and stick that on down in there, just like so. Another key issue you want to make sure of is that your machine is pretty close to your hole. You want to make sure you get as close as you can to the clean out. It keeps the snake from binding up and causing a giant mess and possibly causing you injury. Okay, so here's our clean out. A little messy, kind of nasty, but hey, sometimes when you do your own work, you have to deal with these things. So you put your snake right here in the clean out hole, put it down as far as you can, fish it around a little bit, and see if you can't get it to go in the direction of your sewer line. Now remember this handy dandy little foot pedal here? Well, you're going to put it underneath your foot like so and spin it up a little bit. You can see the drum rotates. Top of the machine, there's usually a switch that changes the direction. It'll either go clockwise or counterclockwise, and it can help in different situations. So let's go ahead and see if we can't get this thing in here. Watch yourself for the spinning drum so that you don't hurt yourself. Keep loose clothing, things like that away from it. Now, with just a couple of bumps there, you might have noticed that I got a little bit farther in. It made it past a lip and is now traveling down the pipe. Keep the speed moderate to low, possibly pulsing it as you go. Just kind of feel your way, see if there's any kind of obstruction. Now you don't want to get this thing bound up or twisted like that. Can cause some problems. It'll spring up, make a giant mess, and could hurt you. So be careful. As you can see, we seem to be running into something here. So, you see how this is arched here? You don't want that. You want to make sure it's as straight as possible so that there's no slack in it. Otherwise, big mess. Something like that can happen. Be careful. Take your foot off the pedal. Don't panic. Something like that can happen. Just be careful. We're gonna go ahead and wind it. We're gonna go ahead and wind it back up a little here. See how much it's twisted. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on reverse. Very carefully pulse it back until it's no longer tangled up. And we're gonna go ahead and try again. I think we might have found our clog. I don't know if you can see that there, but apparently we've dug through at least part of the clog. The water level is fluctuating a bit. That means we're starting to get some serious work done here. So, just because the water went down all of a sudden, doesn't mean you're through with your job. You're gonna have to push through that clog, and I'd go on at least another 5 or 10 feet, and then very slowly come back to make sure that whole clog is cleared out. One thing you want to keep in mind is that once you clear the clog completely out, it should become a lot easier to push and pull this front to back, and it should spin easily. If it's not, your clog is probably still in there and you need to keep working on it. Once you think you've gotten rid of this clog, you're still not done. Go into your house, turn on every faucet, every bathtub, and let that water flow. We need to see if the water is going to back out or sink in and we know the clog is gone. And if that clog is gone and you leave all that water running, as you pull out this snake, it'll clean it off and it won't be nearly as nasty as it would be if you just pulled it on straight out. Alright, so I've had my lovely assistant go ahead and turn on all the water in the house so we can watch and see if the water backs up, and we're not done yet. We'll find out. I can hear the water running. Not sure if you can hear it from there. Well, let's see if it comes back to haunt us. Let it run for a bit. As it's a main, it can take a while for it to back up. You got to make sure that clog is gone because you don't want to be here again. At least not this year for some of us anyway. Let's hope for next year. There seems to be a lot of flow. Obviously a nice fragrant aroma. And still nothing's backing up. That's a good sign, but it doesn't mean you're done just yet. We're going to go ahead, turn this back on and run it down some more just to make sure. It's always better to do this now rather than later. You don't want to have to come back out here or rent the tool again and finish the job that you should have got right the first time. You have the tool for a few hours, go ahead and use it. I'm going to go ahead and have my assistant flush the toilets again, make sure all the water is still running, but I think we may be good. So, one key thing you might want to remember, when you are done and you're reeling it back in, make sure you run it in reverse as you're pulling it out. Number one, it helps prevent it from getting stuck inside there. And number two, it'll help clean out any leftovers that may still be obstructing the pipe. Another key thing you might want to take into account is this isn't a race. The slower you go, the more efficiently and the more completely it'll clear the clog in your line. As you're pulling out the snake, you may see some debris or some signs of what had been blocking your line. In this case, you can see what looks like little bits of tree root, which is what I expected, blocking the line. An even better example right here is you got them tree roots wrapped around. See, it's kind of a pain in the neck every year. You'll want to pull most of this off if you can. A pair of scissors or a knife. Cut it off or just pull it off as I'm doing here. Anyway, make sure it doesn't get put back into the spool. And there you go, folks. There's a nasty clog for you right there. Is that nasty? You're darn right it's nasty. But if you don't do it, no one else will. Well, unless you want to pay a lot of money to someone else for dealing with your crap. And there you have it, folks. Hopefully, this helps you out. One of the most important things you can do when you're doing a tool rental is make sure you clean it up when you're done. Always return it better than when you got it. Number one, they're going to charge you extra if it's really nasty. Number two, it's your crap. Make sure nobody else has to deal with it. That looks like it's going to be about all for today. Hopefully this helped you out, and hopefully it'll save you some money.